Oh God, Peter, it's your face. We're doing this again.
Oh, after them clicks.
Well, listen, we used to do a regular, semi-regular segment where we kind of talked generally about Trek topics. We called it mess halls, and we actually miss doing them.
We do.
And I'm exploring the functionality actually of the software we use to record our podcast. It's called Zencaster. It's watermarks like right here on the screen, probably, that allow us to do a video podcasty thing. So why not bring back the mess hall chat when there's a topic? And here we are, 2 weeks running. We actually have a different topic this week, which was hot off the presses, hot off the Trek presses. Happened today.
What was it?
The kids television program Star Trek Prodigy, which was airing on Nickelodeon and Paramount Plus, has been canceled. But it's not like a normal canceled where there's just no more of the show. It got tax canceled. What does that mean? It means that in order to take a tax loss on the production, because this thing is not useful to you in any other fashion as a piece of your programming library, you delete it from your streaming service and make it so no one can see it.
Yeah, they call that the Batgirl.
Yes, the Batgirl is the biggest example of that, because that actually had a canceled theatrical release as well. So it's not merely, it was never released at all. That was a total tax loss. They wanted to write off all the costs related to that. Once you've published it in some fashion, that ability is limited. But even that limited benefit apparently is better than having Star Trek Prodigy available to the masses. And that is quite an indictment of how many people were actually watching it, which seems to be zero.
There Kate Mulgrew was, thinking that she was too good to play Janeway in Picard season 3. They had to get old Tim Russ in there to give 7 of 9 a promotion. And then bam! That animated series cartoon money just dries up. Live and learn, Kate.
The wildest part of this to me
Who was
is
that cartoon really for?
Well, it's supposed to be for kids. I think I watched like approximately 27 seconds. It was clearly a kids show.
You watched more than my children wanted to watch, because I tried, I wasn't there for it, but I was like, you know what? If I can get the girls to watch it, they know about Star Trek, they know about
Perfect, right? Like that was the intention, I think, was like Trek parents would have their kids watch it.
Yeah, well, the children of Trek parents do not want to watch that. And obviously that's something Nickelodeon and or Paramount owns Nickelodeon, right?
Correct.
Well, somewhere there was a suit that put 2 and 2 together and figured out this thing wasn't making any money.
Yeah. And perhaps even a bigger part of this, at least to me, is season 2 was renewed some time ago and is actually mostly complete, according to the producers of the program. And evidently, Secret Hideout's going to try and find a different publisher for it, which I know they have that capacity to do, at least in some form in their agreements, because, of course, Discovery famously aired on Netflix, and Picard seasons 1 and 2 aired on Amazon. So there are opportunities for them to potentially find buyers for the program. But apparently things being renewed, kind of a meaningless designation, and I didn't think I really understood that. It's something you alluded to once before, and I didn't grasp it, but now I see what you mean. Is something to be renewed, and you still will necessarily never find an erroring place.
Look at Star Wars Acolyte, all smoke and mirrors.
Oh yeah, well that never even got made, and it won't.
Like Sizzle Reels got put together like a 3 mini-series event. Listen, man, there's this marketing tactic out there in Hollywood. Hey, Joe, give me money to make this thing. No. Okay, well, I'm going to say I'm going to make it. This is the Kathleen Kennedy playbook here, right? With some secret hideout / bad robot does this too. Well, I'm going to say I'm going to make it, and then I'm going to get a bunch of social media buzz, and then I'm going to go and say, well, hey, look, the public is hyped for this. Let's go ahead and, give me the money now to do it. And sometimes that works. But lately, I think the executives have figured out, I told you no for a reason. I'm sticking to my guns. And by the way, Twitter is not a real place. all of the millions of people that say they wanted to see Morbius, whatever. Maybe they
All
were
the
just
morbs. Yeah, all the
maybe they were
true
just
morbs. Yeah.
Indian bot farm accounts, and the real vote of confidence is the US dollar going to a movie theater or paying for a subscription. And the streaming wars, I think, are coming to a bloody conclusion. The fact that Netflix has had to finally tighten its belt and do this account sharing crackdown, which, I get there's people out there that have 14 friends that all work the same account, but I'm paying for the ultra high def, whatever 4K version. My mom and dad have a login. My father-in-law has a login. So that's us at home streaming cartoons pretty much 24/7, and then 2 other accounts occasionally chiming in.
It sounds about like from most people's situation. Mostly their boomer parents have their login.
And you're going to sit there and twist my arm to fucking buy additional subscriptions. It's or I could just pirate this shit. And more and more, the answer is just, fuck you, I'll download it. And that's a response I think that everybody's taking note of. Disney's in fucking shambles with Disney Plus. Paramount, I think, is dying a swift death. And I, for one, welcome it. I was happy to hang up the pirate hat and say, you know what, fuck it. I can buy a subscription to Spotify. I can buy my subscription to Netflix. Amazon Prime content is there for whatever. That Air show looked good. The Michael Jordan Nike story.
Oh, the movie, yeah.
That looks good. I want to watch that.
It's fine. It's a little too much in terms of treating Michael Jordan like basketball Jesus, but it's all right.
But wasn't he though?
True.
Amazon's got some good in-house sci-fi programming,
Yeah.
But fuck Peacock / CBS All Access / Paramount Plus.
CBS All Access died first, right? And that's where Paramount Plus came to be, because CBS wasn't enough to run its own shit. No one wanted to watch those own TV shows enough to run a separate program, so they combine it with the Paramount movie catalog, and that provides enough substance, right?
Does it? I mean, you're the one that pays for it.
I do, and to be honest, it is the streaming platform I use the most now. Although I think Netflix is still commercially by far was leagues ahead of everyone else, and by the Extraction movies with Chris Hemsworth that are on Netflix. I think that it's very normie, so it kind of people didn't know about them. They're really good. They're just good action movies.
For those of you listening at home, the man that's currently telling you that this Chris Hemsworth Extraction stuff is good is also a really big fan of Fast and Furious. In an unironic way. So take that with a grain of salt.
In a slightly ironic way. I understand what Fast and the Furious is, and I enjoy it for that. And I would agree that in that same light, if you like that kind of entertainment on occasion, Extraction is a good example of it. And I had no complaints in consuming the first one. And I'm looking forward to watching the second one. But Paramount Plus has just a fantastic movie catalog, like every good movie from the 1980s and 90s, basically. And
well, let's talk movies for a minute, because that's how Disney has shot itself in the foot. And you can say what you want about the quality of the recent Pixar releases, right?
Garbage.
But through COVID, I don't know, are we allowed to say that, or is YouTube gonna cut our dicks off for that?
We're not monetized.
Is it a monetizing thing that they fuck you up on, or is it they won't list you in algorithms?
Don't worry about it.
You
I can't edit it anyway. We're gonna ride with it.
So anyways, through pandemic, there was no movie theaters, and the streaming platforms made the big mistake of saying, hey, you don't have to go to the movie theaters because we're going to give you this stuff direct. And I think maybe Disney had a little upcharge you had to pay. Now, I really enjoyed the last Spider-Man, and I like the Doctor Strange one too. Those went direct to Disney Plus.
I didn't like Multiverse of Madness at all.
It was great. I loved it.
But I agree that No Way Home was way better than I thought it was going to be.
Regardless, that's stuff that's aimed at adults, and adults still want to get out. They want date nights. They want to hang out with their friends. That kind of movie, you can still get people into the theater to watch. And then you
Right.
got Top Gun over there, breaking the bank and showing that, hey, blockbusters can still happen.
There's your Paramount film for you.
Kids movies, the idea of getting my kids in the car and then $1 million in matinee tickets and $2 million in popcorn, for me to sit there in a room with a bunch of other children to get me and my children sick. That's not really a great enticement when I know I can just stay at home and maybe within the next 4 weeks or 2 months or whatever, this thing's going to get knocked on to Disney Plus streaming. So why bother?
Right. And your kids
Obviously,
are going to
Mario
barely know the
Brothers.
difference in terms of time. Right.
Right. I mean, Mario Brothers showed that, hey, you can have a blockbuster kids movie, and that was real salt getting rubbed in Pixar's Road Rash on this. But Disney specifically has trained audiences that you can skip the theatrical release and catch that thing for free. And that, I think, is a couple of deep nails in the coffin on the D Plus streaming service.
You got streaming services. Well, let's return to topic. The real topic here is Paramount is cutting some costs, and they have killed off a show that they were theoretically about to purchase a second season of. And we already heard a lot about all these Trek things that got greenlighted at one point or another. Stranger World Season 3, Starfleet Academy,
Section 31.
Section 31 movie. Like, that was the rapid fire that came after Picard did
the Star Trek Titan Adventures. Oh, wait, no, Kurtzman didn't give you that, you big dummies.
Yeah, and here we are with some of the stuff that was renewed or greenlit. And you have to ask, like, is the writer's strike going on right now preventing any of this from moving forward? Possibly a method by which we can finally kind of reset back to a more sane period. Because even stuff that's finished can get canceled. Well, this stuff that just got announced, nothing has happened with. Work has barely started. They were about to start shooting Stranger World Season 3 and had to cancel it because the writer's strike started. So none of this is in the bag whatsoever. Can the writer's strike possibly go on long enough that studios are able to come back through and cancel all of these contracts they have with these producers and give this franchise over to someone else?
Well, that's the big conspiracy theory, and I've heard it mostly discussed in terms of Star Wars and Disney content, Lucasfilm content, is that the writer's strike is a studio manufactured event to try to flush out the current crop of writers and projects
I actually believe this, yeah.
That have unprofitable written all over them. I don't know what the root framework of the writer's strike is and precipitating factors and what the negotiations entail, but the entire event seemed pretty well telegraphed, and it really seemed like the studios knew when to roll with the punches before the punches actually landed. To, like, you've got the theater of a big inconvenient writer's strike, but in reality this is a hidden agenda to accomplish some pretty big tasks, because Hollywood's just not profitable by and large. And certain big studios, again, Disney namely, has taken huge cash cows, specifically Star Wars, and fucked them into the dirt to the point it's not, there's strong rumors that these might actually end up getting sold off. So,
I mean, you have to remember that while Disney feels like it's the Darth Vader of the entertainment world, it has had 3 stinker-ass movies in a row that just did not make them money.
I think more than 3.
Well, I mean, they had Strange World, which was that one. No one talks about how that died, because I think they got a COVID write-off on it or something. So they were able to hide the loss a little bit more effectively.
Quantum Media was a big flop. This current Pixar movie,
Elemental,
that's flopping hard.
Went nowhere. The last hit they had, I think, was probably Encanto, which was their kind of like classic animated film for 2022.
Peter Pan and Wendy flopped. I mean, it's
And
all
Peter Pan and Wendy
trash.
didn't even go into theaters. They Disney Plus that one because they knew it was a disaster. And of course, they're about to eat probably the biggest L of all time. They're going to put out Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny.
Throw in Lightyear, Guardians of the Galaxy 3, great.
But that's it. That's like the only thing they've made that made them money. It was the worst thing for them to make money because that's the one they can't go back to. Like James Gunn doesn't work for them anymore. That was the last of the remnants of the characters people remembered from when Marvel movies were good. Was Guardians of the Galaxy, and this one kind of sat on the shelf and got set back a couple of years because James Gunn got fired and then rehired.
Well, listen, that can all happen again too, right? David Zaslav over at Warner is not afraid to cut a bitch. And I think after the face first flop that Flash turned into.
Oh, God. Can you imagine what they must be feeling right now knowing they've got fucking Aquaman 2 and Blue Beetle to put out?
So that's the Batgirl, right? The tax write-off. Fucking ditch that shit. Blue Beetle, I have to stay on the board because that is the beginning of Gunn's cinematic universe.
Right, and they trailered that one too, so they couldn't eat a total tax loss on it anymore.
But I think that if I was James Gunn, somewhere in the back of my head, I'd have to really be considering, like, is the era of the superhero movie over? And am I going to be a casualty of war? And is this Zaslav guy just going to pull the plug on the whole goddamn thing? Because it's just L's everywhere. I feel bad for Michael Keaton for getting back into the bat suit in a embarrassment of a movie. And really, like, you and I, we're not over here, rallying the social justice cause or whatever, cancel culture and all that shit. But, like, Ezra Miller's a piece of shit. Everybody who looks at Ezra Miller should know he's a piece of shit. Shame on everybody at Warner Brothers for continuing to push this motherfucker forward. Like, on top of the fact he's a piece of shit as a person, like, I thought he was the worst part, hands down, in Justice League. I can't stand his fucking portrayal of Barry Allen. He's the worst Barry Allen I've ever seen. Just annoying as fuck.
He can't carry a movie. He can barely carry his own few scenes he has.
And I mean, they tried to, like, hey, listen, this is actually multiverse Batman. How cool. But it's like, that's not enough, man. And also, the third kiss of death on that movie, I know that James Gunn's cinematic universe is coming out. So why am I going to pay money in a theater? Again, it's a very expensive proposition. Why am I going to go out and see this thing with this guy I fucking hate playing a character I really dislike? If I know that movie universe is ultimately a dead end and it's all going to get reset anyways. Like, madness to put this fucking thing out.
And then they've got another blank bullet in the chamber. They have to put out Aquaman 2. It's like, what the fuck are you going to do with that? Aquaman was actually their most successful financially solo film of the DC universe. Of all of these characters, right? Because you had Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, Justice League, Aquaman, and now and Shazam. I think I
like Shazam. I think Black Adam was probably my favorite of the lot.
Black Adam. The tragic part about Black Adam is I really wanted to know more about the Justice Society. I it was great. Give me a movie of those fucking guys. Give me Pierce Brosnan being Dr. Fate. Like, that actually seemed cool.
Black Adam had a lot of cool stuff going on. And they're like, well, it's a financial disappointment. And Rock really, shot himself in the foot in the Hollywood negotiation circles for the way he bullied Warner Brothers on that. But compared to Flash, Black Adam did really well. And Black Adam didn't cost anywhere near what Flash cost. So, listen, Hollywood is in a real bad place. And, as we sit here talking about it, I think that a very real conclusion to draw in these executive boardrooms is it's time to bail on the nerd train, that the money's just not there anymore. Whether it's because people are pirating our stuff, because we don't know how to write our material, we're making stinkers, scrapbooking, which I'm sure you're aware of, the Disney practice of, like, filming many different versions of a scene so you can, like, reform the entire
you can make the movie
plot of a movie during editing. Very costly, and the more you spread money out for different scenes, the less your special effects budgets are. And when you're doing superhero movies or sci-fi or anything where people are flying and lasers are being shot and there's explosions, that's special effects, and special effects. And when you are Hollywood, you are the premier entertainment establishment of the world, and you're putting out shit that like butt fuck nowhere Bratislavia has like, their own little YouTube videos they're putting up, and they have more convincing CG than you have, then that's a problem. Because a lot of the stuff you can say, the plot was flimsy and the acting was, really cool visuals. So, and I haven't said that about a movie in a long time. So,
Best visual effects I've seen in a movie in the last 2 years was Top Gun Maverick, because there were none. Because it was just planes and cameras. Like,
still haven't
people.
seen it yet. That's a hardship of being a parent, man.
Hey, listen, you want Paramount Plus? I'll hook you right up. But
I don't need Paramount Plus. I got a copy. I just don't have
okay,
time.
that's good. Now that we're done watching Picard, you can make the time.
I got to make the time for Strange New World Season 2, which I think to this point you are the only person who is saying it's bad.
I'm used to being the only correct person in the
guns.
room. Oh yeah, no. Well, I was a lonely voice. Well, I won't say I was lonely. It was about 50-50 in the Discord. We did not bring that discussion really to Facebook very much. Facebook is a softer place with memes and joy, and Discord has become the contentious but appropriately so Trek discussion forum, and I like that. I like that for dynamic. But it was just 50-50. I had some people who agreed it was bad, but definitely some people were saying it wasn't.
Although since we
wasn't what I made it out to be.
Since we are pandering to the YouTube crowd now, I did see some rabid agreement with your shitting on of Strange New Worlds in the previous.
Yeah, some of the comments on our previous video, which is why I was inspired for us to do this one, were poetic in their in their destruction of Strange New Worlds, and those are the kinds of people I want to attract. Right? If you're going to have an opinion, at least be able to express an iambic pentameter. So
I do feel obligated quickly to go back to Disney. Werewolf by Night was phenomenal. That was a direct to Disney Plus release,
and quick too. It was like 45 minutes,
and that is the same thing that like Lower Decks was for me, and perhaps Strange New Worlds to a certain extent, where it is not the primary focus, where the dummy powers that be are placing their attention, and that there is someone creative that has a clue, and somehow they're able to squeak out cool shit under the radar. And I think that's where the future of entertainment is going to be.
At least for a while. Like, it always goes through these kinds of cycles where things change.
I think you're going to see the big empires crumble. I think you're going to see, if you haven't already seen, the talent leave and go off and start up their own studios, and you're going to start seeing some cool independent stuff. And this is the same shit I ranted about in the last video, that these properties that we love, that we grew up with, the creator is no longer associated with the product, and other people have bought that product as a commodity, and maybe it is in many cases turned from being a story and been turned instead into a platform to try to communicate some other message that is not, the good guys versus the bad guys, or laser swords, or whatever. So as you see these independent studios step out of the shadows of the former monoliths they were, that talent was associated with, you'll see new properties that, steer clear of the copyright that bound hands before, and you'll start seeing some really good stuff coming from some very small places. And that's the power of computers right now. Especially start getting this AI stuff, where really I think small studios can accomplish great things with minimal manpower. And I'm looking forward to that.
I think that you said a lot right there. I think that there will be an advent of smaller budget films produced by smaller companies, because distribution will be atomized. The movie theater is going to collapse in terms of a big mass market thing, and you're going to see the rise of smaller theater organizations and companies. Think more Alamo Drafthouse, less AMC, in terms of what they will be and what they'll focus on. And so you'll still have the ability to go see a movie in a theater, but it's going to be a much more boutique experience. And as a consequence, big, expensive, 9-figure movies will become much more rare. Where I disagree is the total crumbling of the empires. I think you will see a retraction of them, but these are their IPs are so ridiculously expensive and valuable that they will continue to be used. I just think you're going to see a repurposing of it, such that more Werewolf by Night and less Quantumania gets made. You know, and particularly for streaming services that will endure. And I do think Disney will be one of them. I think Disney and Netflix survive for sure. What they'll do
Mm-mm.
is just be more economical in the kind of material that they're making for the service.
No way, man. With what they're talking about, that Comcast is tapping a contract clause that Fox and Disney are going to have to pay out for Hulu, and Disney now owns Fox. Like, if all that stuff's true, uh, streaming services, big misstep for Disney to get involved with. And I do not think Disney Plus will exist in any capacity realistically beyond children's cartoon programming.
I think Disney Plus is a valuable asset for them to market as a reservoir of their old content that you subscribe to access, and that they will be able to extract hundreds of millions of dollars in value from that every month. And it's just that you're going to stop seeing expensive things made for it.
Absolutely,
And
you'll stop seeing expensive things made. And also, too, that back catalog you're talking about, why try to go after subscribers when you can license that shit out to other distribution platforms? And that's exactly what's happening right now. Is a lot of content that's Disney Plus is going back out into the free market.
and the stuff that they bought through those kinds of arrangements, I would agree. But just to conclude on this note, the Disney stuff that they own is like stuff that's in the Smithsonian, right? That's valuable. Owning that is valuable. They've changed federal law to retain their copyrights to these things well beyond what would otherwise be permissible. And because of that extraordinary protection that it has and its extraordinary revenue power, that will always be an asset they will be able to bail themselves out with in terms of any like financial crunch for something like Hulu. That's not to say it won't be changed, and not to say it won't be diminished. It's not to say that that empire will not lose a few towers on its outer wall, but a lot of these companies are going to endure, but they will endure becoming smaller, more agile, and putting out $30 to $50 million films that they only need to make $90 million that they turn a profit, which is going to be much easier for them to do. If you like this stuff, like, share, and subscribe. We'll do more. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching.